So you mentioned too that this is really hard work. For white folks, there's anxiety related to doing the work that begins within us. And for BIPOC folks, I can only imagine truly the exhaustion that you have touched upon. I don't think most of us are patient souls, particularly, especially when it comes to matters of justice and equity. And yet this is a seismic problem, right? That requires a great deal of seed planting, often with very little to show for it. So, what wisdom would you give to a youth worker who's working on this in their youth group or with young people, and who will invariably become frustrated and tired when it can sometimes feel like those seeds are taking a really long time to grow?
Yeah, don't do it alone if you can avoid it. Do it in community if possible. That's where both Chris and I draw a lot of strength from is being in community with each other and with others on the same journey. So I think that's an important aspect. The other thing that I think when you're leading youth groups from a place of relative inexperience so we've received this default pedagogy of sage on a stage is kind of what it's referred to, where we're the expert, pouring out our wisdom into the empty vessels of children, which is not at all accurate. And so one of the best things to do is to shift that and to position yourself as co-learners with the youth that you work with, because this is a journey that we're all on together. And so that can really help reframe things, and you can invite the youth into the learning process. And that tends to help create that sense of community, create that sense of journeying together. And the other thing is I use the compassion practice. So when I feel drained, when I feel like, oh, I'm out in the wilderness on my own and alone sometimes, is to reground myself with the compassion practice by remembering moments in my life where I felt closest to God or where I felt the sacred was present for me, and trying to relive those moments as fully as possible. That those are moments that help restore me to my sense of who I am and help me to keep going.
Yeah, and the last thing I'll say briefly is that one of the things that when we are doing our consultant work is we recognize that essentially we dehumanizing, like racist and colonial dehumanizing logics that basically have been in place for about 500 years, right? It's going to take a little while to dismantle 500 years of fundamentally doing something wrong, right? Like, and so it feels like, oh, we should just do this tomorrow. But man, it takes time to undo the logic of the way in which racist ideologies and the way colonialism has infected myself, right? It's this constant progress, right? It's in, for those of you who are Methodists, if any are Methodists here, we call this moving towards perfection. It's a very Wesleyan way of thinking. Like, we are moving, this is sanctification. It is a process it is a goal. It is ever evolving and to a certain degree elusive because white structures, once marginalized, tend to try to find ways to reassert themselves. That's what we're seeing and what we saw with the Voting Rights Act specifically. So I think patience, when you think about it from that perspective, that it's been 500 years, I think if we can do a lot of work in the next 2 or 3 years, we should be really happy with that.